Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. Okay, so this whole mess started when my folks decided to get me engaged to this guy Derek just so this other girl, Felicity, who everyone thought was some fancy rich girl but wasn't, could be with the guy she actually liked. My parents totally freaked out that I'd cause problems for perfect Felicity and shipped me off to study overseas. I mean, it was obvious they didn't want me there. Even my little bro Sam pointed a toy gun at me saying, "I'm going to get you for Felicity." Seriously, if that's how everyone felt, fine, I just disappear. I never really belonged anyway. Oh, so yeah, I ended up joining this ocean research thing. It meant I'd be on a boat for like 7 years, totally cut off from everyone back home. Honestly, the family kind of went to pieces after I left. My research advisor, Dr. Evans, was over the moon when I said yes. He practically spammed me with texts. "Mia, you're a rock star. It's about damn time you came to your senses and joined us." The ship was scheduled to swing by City A's port in a week. That's where I'd meet up with Dr. Evans and get on board for the long haul. 7 years at sea, zero contact with the mainland. My supposed fiancé Derek totally lost it when he saw me still messing with my phone. "Mia, do you even have a heart? Felicity's in surgery, practically dying, and you're just playing games." He practically shoved me. Like, dude, chill. Felicity wouldn't even be in the hospital if it weren't for the whole situation that had put me in. The whole family was a nervous wreck, freaking out in the hospital hallways, all praying Felicity would pull through. Earlier that day, Felicity had tried to push me down an open manhole. Luckily, I'm not completely uncoordinated and I dodged it, but she ended up getting clipped by a car. Of course, before she went into surgery, she told our parents it was all an accident. "Oh, it's okay, Mom and Dad, don't blame Mia. She didn't mean to push me, she just, lost her cool for a sec." I'm fine. Yeah, right. I totally get her game. There weren't any security cameras around, so she could spin whatever sob story she wanted, and I didn't even get a chance to say anything. Derek, the second he heard about Felicity's accident, bailed on a super important meeting with investors. This funding round was make or break for his company, but nope, Felicity was always priority number one. I couldn't help but smirk and mutter, "That's not how it happened." "You're my fiancé, Mia," Derek hissed, all tense. "Why do you always have to doubt me?" He nervously ran a hand through his hair. It was like the word fiancé was some kind of embarrassing secret. Then Mom stormed over, eyes all red and puffy, and slapped me right across the face. "How can you even be thinking about this at a time like this? How could I have raised such a heartless, selfish daughter?" Everyone in the hallway was staring, giving me these pitying, judgy looks, and there I was, the actual Mia, the one who was always pushed aside, treated like a joke. Everyone was so focused on Felicity they didn't even notice my left foot was throbbing, my ankle was starting to swell up, all hot and painful. I tried to bend down to rub it, and Dad straight up kicked my injured foot. Sneering, he said, "Playing the victim, are we? Just get out. If anything happens to Felicity, I'd rather not have you as a daughter." That kick felt like a knife twisting in my gut. Tears just started welling up. I limped away, barely able to stand. Derek caught up, and for a split second I thought maybe he'd offer some support. Nope, he just shoved my backpack at me, eyes glued to the red light above the surgery room doors. I let out a bitter laugh. My heart felt like lead. Everyone seemed to adore Felicity. Her bubbly personality, that fake sweet smile. They all fell for it, even Derek, who I grew up with in the orphanage. He had fallen for her act. He'd only proposed to me to make sure I wouldn't ruin Felicity's perfect little fairy tale wedding. Back at home, my foot was killing me. I could barely put any weight on it. I hobbled upstairs, and who pops out? My 10-year-old brother Sam, blasting me with his toy gun. "You bad woman. I'm going to get you for what you did to Felicity." The floor was covered in these little toy marbles, and I tripped, smashing my head on the stairs. I almost blacked out from the pain. The staff just stood there watching. Not a single one of them offered to help. It was like they all knew I was a nobody in that house. Back in my room, the tears finally came. I thought about saying a proper goodbye to my family before leaving, but what was the point? They clearly wouldn't care. All I could really take with me were a few fish, some new breeds I'd been cultivating for my research. Felicity's so-called severe injury turned out, after a full checkup, to be just a scratch on her leg. My parents, super worried about the noisy hospital environment affecting Felicity's recovery, brought her home the very next day. When I got back from the lab organizing my data, I found my fish tank empty, all the fish gone. Those fish were everything to my core research. I'd brought them home to observe them closely. Without them, I couldn't publish my paper in a top-tier scientific journal. It was like losing everything. I cornered Mom asking about the fish tank. She just waved me off, all casual, saying they'd tossed it. "Oh, we're putting in an elevator for Felicity's wheelchair, and your tank was in the way, so I told the workers to get rid of it." Her words were so light, so dismissive, like she was talking about throwing out a bag of garbage. I screamed at her, Where did you throw them?" My voice caught Dad's attention. He was just coming back from a walk with Felicity. "Mia, who do you think you're talking to? It's just some fish. You're acting like a spoiled brat." Felicity, of course, jumped in, playing the peacemaker. Then, with this fake apologetic tone, she added, "Sis, it's all my fault. If I'd known, I wouldn't have asked Mom and Dad to install the elevator." She blinked, forcing out a couple of crocodile tears. For this expedition, meaning only the academic elite can join, not some poor saps. I continued picking at my food, noticing the awkward silence. Derek sat stiffly beside me, clearly not expecting me to embarrass him like that. Mom and Dad were surprised too, since I usually just agreed with them to avoid their disapproval. Felicity put down her chopsticks, sulking. "Sister, are you saying I'm ignorant? I know you've studied abroad and seen more of the world, but I stayed here to be with Mom and Dad." She started sobbing like she'd been deeply wronged. Back then, she'd failed all her study abroad applications, and now it had become a tale to brag about. Sam threw a meatball at my face, telling me to apologize to Felicity. Sauce dripped down my chin, thick and gross like worms crawling on me. I put down my utensils, wiped my face, and started to leave the table. "Stop. You haven't said where you're going." "In 4 days, Dad called after me." I stood my ground. "I'm going to the sea." "Does it matter?" Mom interrupted, busy handing tissues to Felicity. "Who cares where she's going as long as she's out of this house and doesn't upset Felicity?" "I'll be relieved." I walked out the front door without looking back. My ankle was still messed up, and I needed to get it checked out. The doctor set me up with a physical therapist for an adjustment. The treatment room was packed, and it took all afternoon to get to me. In the middle of it, Derek called to cancel the wedding. I agreed without a second thought and hung up. He threw in a, "Mia, are you sure?" It's his way of throwing a tantrum, typical of his manipulative ways. He's waiting for an apology, thinking I'd come crawling back. But I see no point in investing emotional value in someone who doesn't love you. Let's end this. As I left the treatment room, I bumped into Mom and Dad with Felicity there for her treatment. Dad looked slightly surprised seeing my swollen, bruised ankle. The doctor advised me to eat light and avoid overexertion. I nodded. As soon as Felicity saw me, she cried out in pain, drawing their attention, and they all hurriedly wheeled her around the corner. That night, Chloe invited me over for dinner at her place. Chloe's family is pretty normal. Her parents are working class, but their family vibe is so warm and welcoming. Chloe's dad peppered me with questions about the ocean, genuinely interested. Her mom made all my favorite dishes, making sure I was well fed. "Make yourself at home," she insisted warmly. Their cheerful family dinner, such a simple thing. Something I'd wished for 27 years, and finally it happened. When I was brought home at 18, I thought having parents wouldn't be like the orphanage, where I had to fight for everything. I craved their love like someone freezing to death longs for warmth. But their foster daughter Felicity had been with them for 17 years. They didn't need a daughter like me. Felicity might seem all sweet and generous, but she always found ways to humiliate me. My parents are materialistic. They preferred Felicity's sunny disposition, outgoing personality. They never acknowledged or comforted my insecurities and sensitivities. Looking at Chloe's parents, their warm, caring smiles made my nose tingle and tears well up. Chloe hugged me casually. "Mia, don't get too emotional. Visit whenever you want." That night and for the next 2 days I stayed at Chloe's. They helped me shop for all the necessities I'd need on board. The store owner complimented Chloe's dad, saying, "Such lovely daughters you have. Life must be worry-free." Chloe's dad scratched his head, a little embarrassed, about to clarify when Dad showed up with his assistant. The assistant handed the owner a list, asking her to gather the items, probably stuff for Felicity. Again, Dad looked at Chloe's family with this grim, suspicious face. Where have you been for 3 days? Don't hang out with questionable people. It'll ruin your reputation. His words were so humiliating. I didn't want Chloe's family to feel awkward. Chloe's family had been treating me really well. They knew what I liked to eat and had been helping me shop. Stop judging others with your narrow-minded views. I snapped. I've come to terms with the fact that my parents don't really love me. I don't expect love from them anymore. Once I decided that, standing up to my arrogant dad wasn't so hard. How dare you? Dad scolded, but I didn't look away. I met his gaze unafraid. I have things to do. I'm leaving, I said, linking arms with Chloe and her mom while Chloe's dad carried my stuff. We left the store without looking back, heading to our next destination. Later that night, Dad surprised me by calling, "Mia, you need to come home for dinner tonight." Over the phone, I could hear Felicity whining on his shoulder. "Dad, I want this." And Dad replying, all right, whatever you want, you can have it." I didn't answer right away but finally decided to go back. I had a ship to catch the next day, and I needed to grab my fish tank and formally tell them where I was going. When I got home, I heard Felicity and Sam laughing from the hall. The servants were busy carrying dishes back and forth. Dad was watching the news and nodded at me, his way of saying hello. The table was piled high with food, but none of it was stuff I liked. Felicity smiled sweetly at me. "Mia, you don't like these dishes? It's fine. The cook is preparing something special for you," she said. Mom still held a grudge but stayed silent. She was crouched on the floor, carefully checking Felicity's wound. I shifted my leg, hiding my left foot behind the chair. This luxurious home never felt like it was lit up for me. After a long wait, a servant brought out a big dish. "Mr. and Mrs., here's the steamed fish Miss Felicity ordered." The dish was placed in front of me. The patterns and fins on the fish looked so familiar. "Mia," Dad said, "your foot was injured, so I had this dish made to help you heal. Do you like it?" Felicity's seemingly innocent and eager eyes hid a malicious intent. I shoved the chair back and, dragging my left leg, rushed upstairs to check on my fish tank. It was empty, just as I'd feared. My carefully nurtured butterfly fish, the one I'd spent 3 years raising, had been turned into tonight's dinner. My research, my data all gone. At that moment, I heard Felicity's wheelchair signaling her arrival. "Mia, what are you looking for? Come down and eat. Mom, Dad, and Sam are waiting for you." She did it on purpose. It was absolutely deliberate. I told everyone in that house how important that fish was to me. "Why did you insist on steaming that fish?" I lost it, banging on the empty fish tank, demanding answers from Felicity. "Sis, what's wrong?" Felicity backed away slowly, her voice trembling with fake fear. "I just thought the fish was nutritious, so I had the chef steam it." "Don't be mad, don't hit me," she stammered. Then abruptly, she fell out of her wheelchair, landing on the floor with a loud thud. The noise was deafening. Mom and Sam rushed over, not even waiting for an explanation. Mom slapped me twice and went to help Felicity. Sam set the wheelchair upright, glaring at me with pure anger. "Mia, you're an ungrateful brat. We treat you well. Why do you bully her?" I stood there just thinking about that butterfly fish that died for absolutely nothing. "I know how important the fish was to you," Dad spoke up. But Felicity didn't mean it. She just wanted to help. Even now, my parents believe such childish excuses. It's not that they're gullible. It's that they willingly choose to favor Felicity. "So you invited me back tonight just to receive Felicity's goodwill?" Outside, the rain was pouring down, and the wind was rattling the windows. I thought about the 3 years of effort completely wasted, and my heart just ached. This kind of goodwill I can't and won't accept. I moved down the stairs like a puppet, leaning on the banister. Dad was busy checking on Felicity, not giving me a second thought. Derek walked in from outside, holding a huge bouquet of bluebells decorated with little cutesy charms. Knowing Felicity would eventually marry someone else, Derek still wanted to make her happy. I brushed past him, heading to the door to grab an umbrella. "Mia, where are you going?" Derek grabbed my arm. "The fish is gone. There's nothing left for me here." I just want to get a good night's sleep at Chloe's, then I'll catch the ship tomorrow. When I shook him off, Derek shouted, "It's pouring rain out there. Are you crazy?" Upstairs, Felicity started crying, all pitiful, and Derek panicked. He dropped the bouquet and rushed up the stairs. "Mia, don't go. This is your home. If I can't make you happy, then I'll leave. I promise I won't upset you again." Felicity stood up from the wheelchair, pretending to chase after me. Mom frantically tried to stop her, worrying she'd reopen her wounds. Ignoring the warning, Felicity wheeled herself into the elevator and soon arrived at my side. "Mia, I'm sorry." She raised her hand to slap herself, but Derek stopped her. "Felicity, what are you doing? Derek, leave me be. It's all my fault," she sobbed, dramatic enough to faint. Mom saw the blood seeping through. Felicity's bandages looked at me with even more disgust. "Mia, let me tell you, Felicity will always be my daughter. You'll never push her out of this home." Felicity lay on Mom's shoulder, a slight smirk playing on her lips. Dad ordered me back to my room. The slap left my face burning and my ears ringing. His words echoed in my head. "The fish are gone, so what's left for me to go back to?" I took a couple of steps out the door. Behind me, Dad yelled, "Mia, if you step out that door today, never come back." I wasn't planning to return anyway. I ditched the umbrella and ran straight into the pouring rain. "Sis, don't go," Felicity shouted, chasing after me. "Felicity, don't bother with her. We don't have such an unreasonable daughter," Mom said coldly. Her words stung as much as the rain, making me shiver even more. Chloe's family was startled by my drenched appearance. I forced a smile and said, "I'm fine. In the past, Mom used to make me stand in the rain as punishment, so I've been through worse." After a hot shower, Chloe's mom made me some ginger soup to warm me up. "Sweetie, you're leaving on a ship tomorrow. How can your parents treat you like this?" The self-pity I used to feel wasn't there anymore. I felt surprisingly calm. They kicked me out and told me never to return. I sipped the ginger soup. "It's really good." The next day, the clouds cleared and the sun shone brightly. I said goodbye to Chloe's family and headed to the pier. Dr. Evans was already there waiting for me. "You're off for 7 years. Anything you can't leave behind." My phone vibrated. It was a call from Dad. Derek texted, "Where are you?" The ship's horn blared as a vessel cut through the sea, entering the harbor. I tossed my phone into the ocean and flashed a bright smile. Nope, nothing else in this world could waver my commitment to publishing that paper. They hadn't been able to reach Mia for a week. Even when she was mad before, she'd always come back by the next day. Mia's dad checked her room every night. The fish tank was empty with no one to care for it anymore. Derek went back to the orphanage where they grew up, looking for her. The headmistress was cold towards Derek, practically kicking him out of the office. "That's what you get for messing with Mia's heart," she said. In the familiar yet rundown orphanage, memories flooded Derek's mind. Back when he was too small to grab food, Mia gave him hers, nearly fainting herself from hunger. When mean kids bullied him, Mia defended him with a brick. Being lonely and vulnerable, the kids depended on each other. When did things change between them? Derek thought it must have been when he met Felicity. At Mia's new house, Felicity and Mia were complete opposites. If Mia was a stray cat, Felicity was a pampered, carefree doll. Felicity had an effortless charm unlike Mia, who was always cautious and tense. Kids who grew up without love get drawn to those who did. Derek knew he wasn't good enough for Felicity, so he stuck with Mia for Felicity's happiness. He knew Mia loved him, so he'd read to call off the wedding, thinking she'd stop him. But now it's been a week with no word from Mia. Calls went unanswered, texts ignored. Besides the orphanage, Derek had nowhere else to search for her. Only now did he realize how little he knew about her life. He remembered running into Chloe at a store. Through the store owner, he got Chloe's contact. "Hello, who's this?"
I'm Mia Sedad.
"Is she with you?" Chloe bit her lip. Mia had asked Chloe not to reveal her whereabouts before leaving. "No, sorry, I haven't been in touch," she said and hung up abruptly. "Why didn't you do something sooner?" the mother grumbled, claiming it was better Mia didn't come back to prevent chaos. Yet she couldn't help but recall those 2 slaps. Maybe she had gone too far, especially since Felicity's injury had healed. Then a video surfaced online from someone's dash cam with the title "Karma Comes Around." The video showed a long-haired girl removing a manhole cover, leading a short-haired girl close to it, then trying to push her in. Luckily, the short-haired girl sensed danger and jumped aside while the long-haired girl got hit by a turning car. Comments pointed out the sewer was nearly 2 meters deep, directly leading to the sea. If the short-haired girl had fallen in, she might never be found. The long-haired girl had seemed kind but turned out to be treacherous. Even though the short-haired girl sprained her ankle, people only cared about the other girl. Derek, after watching, realized he had misjudged Mia all along. She was telling the truth. Felicity really is that way, he thought. But where was Mia now? Frustrated, he put down his phone, pounding his head with his fists. Mia's father came across Mia in a news article. The headline read, "Ocean Research Expedition Set Sail, led by University Marine Science expert." In the group photo, Mia stood proudly in the front row, wearing her lab coat and smiling brightly. Reflecting on Mia's years with them, he'd never seen her smile like that. The news mentioned the research would last 7 years, during which communication with land would be impossible. Reflecting on Mia's comments at the dinner table, he realized she was preparing to say goodbye. Unfortunately, her mother interrupted with hurtful words. The video too reached Mia's father. He and Mia's mother were in shock after watching it. In their hearts, Felicity was seen as the obedient and forgiving daughter who never harmed anyone. So whenever she was unhappy or in tears, they'd always take her side unconditionally and blame Mia. Deep down, they thought that Mia, having grown up in an orphanage, must be more cunning than Felicity. Remembering all the past misunderstandings and punishments, Mia's mom was heartbroken. Her tears fell freely. "She must be so disappointed in us. I wasn't a good mom at all," she thought, staring at her hands. She wished all those slaps had landed on herself instead, but it was too late. She couldn't hear their remorse now. Mia's dad remembered the night she fled into the storm, her silhouette fading. Filled with disappointment and resolve, to Mia, this home was a prison. Once she left, she became a whole new person. Yet, as her father, he had no clue. Felicity, eyes red from crying, walked in and called her parents softly. "It wasn't like that," she said. "Mia used AI to make a video and framed me." She hugged her mom just like she always did. "Mom, you have to believe me this time." Mia's mom coldly pushed Felicity away without even glancing at her. Mia's dad shoved the news article under Felicity's nose. "Are you saying Mia made and posted a video to frame you while on a ship with no signal?" After reading it, Felicity realized she was completely exposed. She knelt at Mia's mom's feet, pitifully pleading, "Mom, Dad, I didn't mean it. I just loved you so much and was scared Mia would steal your love." Both angry and hurt, Mia's mom kicked Felicity in the chest. "That was a sewer leading to the ocean. You wanted her dead with no trace left behind. My poor daughter survived only to face more torment. Remember all those times you stirred up trouble between me and Mia? I regret adopting you." Felicity crawled back, hoping for her dad's mercy. "Dad, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I'll massage your shoulders like before." "Okay." But Mia's dad just kicked her aside. He stared at the newspaper and 2 tears slipped down his cheek. Recently, Sam had also been unwell, either dizzy or with a stomach ache. Initially, they thought he was faking to skip school, but then he collapsed with seizures at school and was rushed to the hospital. That's when Mia's parents realized something was wrong and took him for a checkup. The doctor said it was chronic poisoning. Derek played a recording in front of Mia's parents. It was Felicity's voice saying, "Mom, once I get the inheritance, you won't have to work your stall anymore." Her mom replied, "Silly girl, that family has their real daughter and son. How could the inheritance come to you?" Felicity sinisterly laughed. "The real daughter's been kicked out, and as for the son, well, I've been putting mercury in his milk every night. He won't last a few years. Even if he does, he'll be useless. When that day comes, I'll bring you to the mansion to enjoy life." Mia's mom went pale as paper upon hearing it. She not only wants Mia dead but plans to kill Sam too. Now Mia's dad was furious. "She won't even spare us. I fear, and we treated her so well, even better than our real daughter." "You're blind," he snapped. "Felicity's a snake that'll never change. The wrong she's done to Mia, She'll pay back 1,000 times over. Derek, meanwhile, was only worried about Mia. What about Mia? Do you know where she is? Is she safe? Seeing the video of the open manhole, he feared the worst, that Mia had been killed by Felicity. He secretly followed Felicity, hoping to find answers, only to overhear her conversation with her mom. Luckily, Mia wasn't in danger. She had joined an ocean research team. Truly blessed, Mia's mom clutched her chest, filled with regret over years of mistakes. Yes, Mia loved the ocean. Ace on the screen, his fingers trembling, she told me. But back then, I was too caught up with Felicity to listen. I even let Felicity cook her favorite fish, and she must have been miserable. Mia's dad gazed at the empty fish tank with endless sighs. Will she come back?
Mia's mom wept.
Yes, Derek reassured them. The news said she'd return in 7 years, but it seemed like he was convincing himself more than them. 7 years later, they got the news and waited early at the port for Mia to disembark. Mom and Dad had aged a lot, their hair turning gray. Sam had grown taller than Dad and shielded his eyes as he looked towards the ship eagerly. Derek clutched a bouquet of blue flowers, looking hopeful. But I didn't get off that ship. In those 7 years, I'd completed 7 top journal papers and was offered a professorship at the Ocean University's South Branch. I was getting off at the next stop to start my new job. Mia, can you tell us if Mia came back? Derek worriedly asked as the crowd dwindled. Eventually, he found my mentor, an elderly lady with gray hair. Who are you to Mia? She asked cautiously. I'm her fiancé, Derek replied excitedly. But she said the engagement was long broken off and she has no fiancé now. Derek looked dejected. Mia's parents and Sam approached. We are her parents and this is her brother. Can you please tell us where she is? Across the distance, the mentor and I exchanged a glance. In these 7 years, I've completely transformed. I've come to accept the past's bitterness and hardships. She's gotten a teaching job at a university abroad. She won't be coming to see you all anymore. The mentor left, leaving them standing there stunned. A year later, after settling down in the South Seas, I went back to visit Chloe. She was shocked by how much I'd changed. While we were having coffee, she mentioned from time to time how my parents had changed over the years. Felicity got messed up by your dad, probably long dead up in northern Myanmar by now. They spent a fortune building a marine park and named it after you. The funniest thing is, Derek actually closed down his company to work as a janitor at Ocean University, just to find out when you're coming back. I put down my spoon and saw a mother and child walking past the glass doors. The person looked familiar. When he turned around, I recognized Sam. He pointed at me and smiled foolishly. Sister. The woman tugged his arm, telling him not to be silly. It really is Sister Mia. Hearing that, the woman quickly turned around. By that time, I had already paid the bill and disappeared from Mia's mother's sight. Later, when Mia's father was critically ill, he begged the mentor to send word asking me to come see him one last time. I had the mentor relay. The father-daughter bond is over in this lifetime. Chloe said that when he saw the message, he completely lost the will to live. His heart monitor flatlined. He left a will. Besides leaving Mia's mother and Sam's living expenses, everything else was for me. I donated the money to an orphanage. I hope more kids like me could get help. When Derek found out about my donation, he begged until he got a job as a handyman at the orphanage. Mia will come back. If she comes back here, she'll remember our childhood feelings. He'd sent Mia's mom away, and also Sam, who now had a disability. Finally, one day he claimed he saw me return. He was so excited to go change his clothes, but he tripped on a broom, had a severe brain hemorrhage, and passed away within a day. The director said he kept saying my name until his last moment.